Welcome to a new episode from Perfect English Podcast. Today we're going to talk about some common mistakes. We're going to start with the word ashamed. Let me start by reading this example to you. I always feel ashamed when I have to speak in public. Well, the problem is that it's a big word. Ashamed means feeling guilty and disgusted with yourself because of something bad that you have done. Like when you say anyone who steals from the poor should be ashamed of themselves. So going back to the sentence, you look at it, I always feel ashamed when I have to speak in public. Well, there's nothing in that to make you feel guilty and disgusted. Maybe the word we're trying to use here is a little bit less intense. Maybe we're trying to say feeling a little bit socially uncomfortable or anxious. That is, I feel socially uncomfortable or anxious when I have to speak in public. And the word for that is not ashamed. The word for it is embarrassed. Embarrassed means feeling socially uncomfortable or anxious. Like when you say, you can imagine how embarrassed I felt when I couldn't pay the bill. I didn't have enough money to pay the bill. You can imagine, but it's not feeling guilty and disgusted. There's nothing so wrong about that unless you do it on purpose every time. You should feel ashamed. So we should go back to this example and fix it by saying I always feel embarrassed when I have to speak in public, instead of I always feel ashamed. And now let's jump to the next word, borrow. Let's take a look at two examples in which we use the word borrow in a wrong way. I asked my friend to borrow me some money, and he borrowed me some of his books. Now, people usually make this mistake, and it's always the problem about whether to use borrow or lend and the difference between them. And it's pretty simple. When you borrow something from someone, you are allowed to use it. You take it. This person allows you to take this thing for a while, of course, because you have to give it back, and you can use it. That is when I borrow something from you. Can I borrow some money from you? That means you will give me some money, but I'm supposed to give it back. But if we switch roles here, when you lend something to someone, you let them use it. You give it to them and you allow them to use this thing. So that is the difference. And here, if we go back to the sentences, the first one we say, I asked my friend to borrow me some money. Now, what I want him to do is I want him to give me some money. I want him to give me, so he should lend me. It's not I want him to take me. It doesn't make any sense. So here we should say, I asked my friend to lend me some money. And for the next one, he borrowed me some of his books. He gave me the book, so he should say he lent me some of his books. I borrowed some of his books. I took some of his books. I used them because he let me. So here, remember, when you want to take something, you borrow. When you want to give something, you lend. But remember, you give or take something just temporarily, not permanently. You are not allowed to keep this thing. You have to give it back. And that's all for today. I hope you have learned a lot today, and I'm pretty sure that your English is a step closer to perfect English. This was your host, Danny. Don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next time.